Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sixth Podcast. This will be a weekly podcast. I'm hoping to get it done every week. Hopefully, we keep it in that schedule. But today, we are going to be talking about Operation Chimera. And to help me with that, my co-host and good friend, Iceycat, has joined me today. How are you doing today?
I'm not too bad.
Alrighty, so you watched the invitationals today, correct?
Yes, I did. Very cool presentation. I think they've really outdone themselves. I've seen them in the past, and it's like, oh, this is a pro event. But this year, wow, really epic.
That band, that orchestra, I was very well impressed with that.
Yeah, no kidding.
The whole stage of it and the whole the grand spectacle of it all was amazing. But for good reason though, was Operation Chimera, Mission Breakout. They showed us all that gameplay and all that cool stuff. We're going to be talking about that later. I just wanted to kind of start off where the hype originally started a long time ago when the 4chan leaks came out with Finka and Lion. Let's start with talking about them. I want to talk about Finka first. So she has these nanobots. She just hits a button that's on her glove, and it activates it. It's a global buff, correct?
Yeah, it applies to the whole team all at once.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what the actual terminology was. I watched a lot of Pro League, so global buff. Everybody reloads faster, aims down sight faster, recoil is less. They got rid of the running faster though, so that's good. What are your thoughts on Finka in general?
She seems like she's really going to shake things up a lot. I know when Doc first came out, there's a lot of people who are like, well, why did the defenders get a medic, but the attackers don't? And I know that they had tried that a while back with when they were prototyping Capitao, that he was going to have his asphyxiation darts, and his second one, instead of smoke, was going to be like a medic dart. But they couldn't figure out a way to make it work. That was, I don't know. I guess they felt like the attackers running around and trying to hit each other with the medical dart wasn't working, and yet somehow it was when Doc did it for the defenders. But they decided that this was just going to be the approach they were going to take, so you didn't have to worry about that. And I mean, but anyway, it's just really interesting to see that, they kind of figured out a way to deal with the problem that they were having internally of how do we create this attacking role that can heal without making them chase the people they're trying to heal around and potentially miss and waste the ability.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest downfall to Doc is when you try and heal your teammates and you completely whiff it and you stim pistol the wall. Her weapons are really interesting. I in my opinion, I feel like they kind of gypped out a little bit on the weapons. Like they gave this one weapon that's really unique to her, which is awesome. But then they're like, oh, we're just going to stuff the Russian weapons onto her. Granted, she's Russian.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people complain about that. I've heard that frequently brought up. But, I mean, think about it. How many guns are in this game already? Like, unique weapons. Mm-hmm. And then compare that to any other first-person shooter you've ever played. How many guns are in Call of Duty, right? I mean, you've got, 7 or 8 assault rifles, 5 or 6 submachine guns, 2 or 3 shotguns, 4 or 5 pistols. I mean, that's sort of like the range that you get out of like a Battlefield or a Call of Duty or a whatever. How many guns are in Siege?
Yeah.
There's a crap load of them in comparison. They don't even get close to where we're going for this. And if they're still trying to go for 100 operators total over a 10-year period, you can't expect like every single time it comes around for them to be all new. Now, what I haven't liked, if you don't mind if I just kind of go off on a little tangent here.
No, go ahead.
Is in previous seasons where they will do something like, for instance, take Velvet Shell, right? So we got Mira and Jackal, and they came out, and they both had like the same kind of loadout where it's like, okay, well, she has a shotgun, so his other one's going to be a shotgun too. Thank God they gave him the SMG in addition to, his primary assault rifle, so he kind of had that choice of 3. Yeah. But you'll see that like when these operators come out of a C2, it's like, well, so we've got Echo, and he's got this shotgun, so we're going to make Hibana's second weapon that shotgun. and they both have the same pistol loadouts. So essentially, they only have one weapon that's different between them. Um, in this case, yes, each of these new operators only have one unique weapon. So in the case of Finka, that's Spear 308. But she's got the combined loadout of the other GIGN operators. I mean, none of the attackers have the option to pull up that the Saiga 12.
That
That
yeah, sure. Only recruit can do that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't do that as Fuse, and you can't do that as Glaz. So for her to be able to pull that out on the attacking team from the Spetsnaz arsenal is kind of a cool spin on things. And she's got a nice pool there. So yes, some of those weapons are recycled. Yeah, for sure. But she's got a good spread, and she still manages to bring a unique weapon. And of course, so does Lion. He brings his unique weapon to the table too. So I don't know. I mean, can you really hold that against them if they're going to go for 100 operators eventually
Oh no, no, no. I'm
with
not
the
gonna.
amount of guns they have?
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna hold it against them. Like, I'm not saying I've actually. I'm one of those people who, like, when you see the criticisms and stuff, I'm the first person to try and defend Ubisoft in their decision. Yeah, like, I don't disagree with that. I was underwhelmed by it. But now that you kind of put it that way, yeah, there is a lot of weapons to go through, and there is probably only so many weapons they can get licensed for the game, so you may as well kind of recycle some of the content.
Right, and licensing is huge, and you've seen them tackle that in different ways, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean, like the Fabarm 6, they can't call it that for licensing reasons, so it's the SGCQB. So I mean, you see like they kind of run into those weird issues. Same with the Saiga 12. I forget what they call it in game because I never use the damn thing, but they can't call it the Saiga 12, even though that's what it is.
mm-hmm.
So, you kind of get these issues where they have to sort of work around that. And then there's other ones, like you'll never see a Glock in the game, as far as I know, because Glock is, as a company, they just are notoriously stingy with their licensing.
Now,
So, yeah, I don't even know if they can get around that with giving it a generic name or not.
I was gonna say off topic. What do you think they would be able to be like? Oh, it's the G17 or the G18 or like the GL18, something like that. Like kind of like it's a Glock. Everybody knows it's a Glock. It looks like a Glock. It's just not called a Glock.
Yeah, I'm not really sure because I chose Glock specifically as an example because they are notorious for suddenly, once all the school shootings started to sort of be a problem, they're like, okay, we don't want our gun affiliated with video games at all. And they were like, you really can't find them in video games anymore the last several years.
Now, could Rainbow make one that looks like a Glock? It's its own entity. It doesn't resemble a Glock. Like, for example, like how they did the CZ75. Like if they
Right.
did
Well, and
that's
that's where I was going with this is that Glock is so notorious for like just cracking the whip on their license that I think that other companies they might be able to sort of do that with or reach an agreement like we'll use your gun but we'll call it something different and they might be okay. I mean, like I don't know what goes on behind the legal scenes, but I know that Glock is just like no.
yeah. Well, me being Canadian, I wouldn't know that. But kind of we got a little bit off topic. Back to Finka. With her Spear 308, or is it, Spear 308? Yeah, Spear 308. Looks like it has barely any recoil, or that's what it looked like. It was on.
It looks like an amazing gun from what they've shown of it so far.
It's like a truck, which is kind of what every DLC operator kind of has. It feels like it, obviously, because it's a new type of gun. But how do you feel that she's going to impact this meta? This where we are in the trap meta per se. Or do you feel like this with her, it's going to be an evolution of something completely different now, rather than kind of evolving the trap meta? It's just now we're on to something new.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the trap meta specifically because one of the ways that they talked about how her ability is countered is, of course, by the newest edition of the trap meta operators, Lesion. So the toxins in his goo mines will immediately disable her effect. And that's kind of cool to see. Like she has a lot of strengths that she brings to the table, and so when you see like the Lesion mines or the other trap operator Smoke, sort of a trap operator, that his gas will cause extra damage because you have a higher respiration rate while you're using this device. It is actually cool to see some of the trap operators really be able to kind of counter her a little bit.
Yeah, and the Lesion one was really surprising, but the Echo one threw me off completely.
I don't get that one.
That like you get hit by it. I would understand if it's Like just it didn't do anything with the dizzying effect. You still get dizzy, but the fact that it totally nullifies it is really weird. I'm not saying it's broken. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's good to have an operator with lots of counters. Not too many, but enough. But it just threw me for a loop completely when they're like, "Oh yeah, Echo, he can completely her things just get shut off." But I guess thinking about it, the nano bots that are in her, maybe the concussion wave. I'm thinking way into the lore right now. Maybe the concussion wave does something to the nanobots that they just kind of stop working.
Well, see, his ability isn't concussion based. That's
Okay.
Ella and Sophia, right? So they, and
Yeah.
that's why Ella and Sophia have reduced effect on each other because they have specific concussion training. Whether or not that somehow allows you to shake off the effects better because you're exposed to it a lot, I don't know,
I
whatever.
don't know.
But Echo doesn't apply to that because he's not considered concussion. He's considered acoustic. It's a sound based blast. I don't know how that disrupts nanobots though.
I
It
don't know.
feels to me like Echo was like they're like we got to give this guy something to make him a little better. So here, take this.
Yeah, that's true, right? Like they could be some. I don't know. Like they did say they wanted to kind of bring Echo somewhere completely different, right? So, or they Echo wasn't in a spot where they wanted him. That's what they said. So that being said, like how do you feel that she's with the counters that we know she has, and with the everything else that goes on with her? How do you feel she's going to actually affect this meta? How do you feel that she's going to be implied into each game?
Well, she's going to be really good for any kind of synchronized pushes that you do as a team, whether that's assaulting the objective or whether you've got like a roamer cornered in a specific section of a building and you kind of group up on them or whatever. When you're going to be engaging into a gunfight and you hit that boost and you get that the overcharge of the 20 hit points, you get that recoil reduction, you get the ability to move through barbed wire faster, whatever it is that the flashbang immunity, well, not immunity, I'm sorry, the flashbang resistance. When you're going to make that coordinated team push and you hit that, that's really going to make it almost like you are already creating chaos as a team when you coordinate and you do that. Now you're making it an even more like an elite strike team when they do it because they've got just that much more of an edge in several different ways. I mean, the way they showed that, like for instance, just the flashbangs alone, you've got a roamer trapped in some room, or whether you're taking the objective and you want to knock out an anchor, whatever it might be, go ahead and toss those flashbangs in there because you can still be affected by them, but it's kind of like shaking off, like when you get hit by that echo blast or whatever, like you can still push through it even though you're affected. And so now instead of being blinded as an attacking team, you're gonna be like, yeah, toss it in there and let's go after it. So that can really make a more aggressive, coordinated push.
Yeah, I totally agree. I can see like now a lot of more. Uh, I can see a lot more rushes. I can see a lot. I feel at the beginning when she comes out, there's going to be like a Finka plus four shields or recruit shields, or like think of a juiced up Monty running down the hallway at you when you're in basement on Clubhouse, or like the possibilities with her are actually very endless. If you think about it, like you could push
Right.
so many different ways with the amount of operators, especially that they're going to be adding new operators and they want to get like 100, right? So her ability can affect everybody no matter when the season is. So I feel comparing the two, Finka versus Lion, like there's always an operator every season that really sticks out, that really sticks with the game or with the meta, even though when the meta evolves and does all this. And I feel Finka's going to be that person who everybody's going to pick, and she's the more dominant operator of this particular season, per se, in my opinion, out of the two. Um, what were you going to say?
Well, I'm just giving some consideration to what you're saying, and I think that like how you said that in previous seasons there would be one that would sort of stick around and the other would be like, okay, it's part of the background or whatever, but it's like maybe the novelty wears off, is I think what you're getting at.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how much that's going to apply to Lion because that wall hack ability, like that is meant to be an anti-roaming counter,
yeah. Actually,
right?
let's talk about Lion right now. Yeah, it's going to be an anti-roaming counter. Um, but it has a 3-second window. It's it's something that you really need to coordinate. It's not something you can just throw out there and somebody's going to be able to like jump on that. Like the odd
Right.
person will, but like it's not like something you're just like, oh, like Dokkaebi. Dokkaebi, you can just say, okay, I'm going to ring phones now. You know, like you can ring phones whenever you want, and it's still it doesn't. You can do it strategically, but it's not a hindrance in the sense of where if you do this one and nobody's in position, you've just wasted it.
I would argue the same goes for Finka too, though. Like if you boost yourself because it's a good time for you, but the other people are just like wandering around the hallways on the third floor,
Yeah,
I mean, like it's not going to do them any good either. So I think that's true with both of these new operators.
yeah, and I believe Ubisoft touched on that today too when they're saying it's a global effect. So we want teams to start working together more, get more synergy, get more synchronization in it. So it's like, okay, we're going to be doing the push in the next 10 seconds. Everybody kind of get where you need to. I'll juice us up and we can go in. And it's really good that way. With Lion, I feel like he's on a different level of that though. He's on a very like I feel diamond players and higher plat players they're gonna they usually have 5 mans, 4 mans somewhere around there, and I feel they'll coordinate him a lot better. Finka, you can still get away with things. You can kind of observe where your teammates are and get juiced and be like, okay, like I can tell they're coming this way, so maybe they'll need to be juiced. Whereas Lion, if you catch somebody off guard, you might actually kill them because they'll get the enemy team will see this signal saying, oh, you got 3 seconds, and then you can't move. They're going to run around a corner. They're going to run around stuff. And if your teammate's not ready for that, you could incidentally kill your teammate because that person moved and your teammate wasn't ready for it.
I think that's absolutely correct, but I think that that's countered because Ubisoft could see that coming, which is why not only do the defenders get a heads up that they're about to be tracked to 3 seconds, but so do your teammates. So they know to
Mm-hmm.
kind of prep for it too. So even if you're not doing a good call out or for whatever reason you're playing this game without a microphone, shame on you. But in those situations, your teammate can also be like, oh, this is happening in 3 seconds. Okay, get ready to kind of like look around for wherever this might be giving me information.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I mean? Sometimes you're caught up in the chaos. You're caught up. You're like I can get sweaty, so sometimes I don't pay attention to certain things, right? So like you might just overlook that, not thinking of it. But
Yeah.
I totally agree that it gives you a warning, gives them a warning. You know, everybody can kind of prepare for it. But I can see more instances where people are just kind of caught up in the moment and not looking at it. But let's see where let's talk about Lion for a second here a little bit more and figure out where exactly do you feel he would be involved in the meta? We figured out where Finka is. Where do you think Lion's going to be good at?
Well, I think Finka is very general purpose. She's useful in so many kinds of situations, but I think Lion is specifically, he's just really meant to be sort of an anti-roaming operator because the meta has shifted so many times over the course of the couple of years that the game has been out, and we saw a real big push towards the 3-speed operators. I mean, how many team compositions on defense do you have where you've got a Pulse, a Queveda, and a Ella all running around, and probably a Jaeger in the mix too? It's just like the 3-speed roamers and the 3-speed rushers are kind of the new meta. And so they took a little bit of an approach to that with Jackal as a way to counter that. But Jackal can do one set of footprints at a time. And so that doesn't really kind of give you a lot of info on, where other people might be. And there's still a lot of aggressive, roaming tactics that are going on that it's really the meta has changed toward that. Fast gunplay, fast positioning, strike tactics. And so this is kind of a way to sort of deal with that of like when you enter the building, you're trying to go toward that objective, but instead of getting hit from those people coming down from the third floor back behind you, now you're going to kind of have a little bit more situational awareness on where these players are.
Yeah, and that's a great like I see where Ubisoft was coming from with that, like because that was like the biggest fear when like let's say it was like a 2v2 and you're like approaching the bomb site, you're approaching something, and you don't know where one guy's an objective, but you have no idea where the next guy is, and then you just get flanked, and you're like, well, we had no cameras, we had no drones, or we did have drones, and they didn't get called out, or the drones were looking in the right spot. Like this is just it totally gets rid of all that. Like okay, well I'll just do this. Like this will help us. We're pushing. There's 30 seconds left. Let me just pop this. We know we'll get an idea of where the last one is, unless they stop moving, and then we can push. We know we're safe for that brief window that we can push in, and then we'll have objective, whatever objective might be.
Right. And I think that it's actually going to be like, people are like, oh, wall hacks, kind of a thing, but it's actually going to have a little bit less effect, I think, on pushing the objective itself, because your anchors are probably going to be somewhat, I mean, they're anchors, right? That's what
Yeah,
they do. They sort of, hold a position. So they're not moving around a whole lot necessarily. So I think that when it comes to the objective push, the wall hacks may not be as useful. So it really seems, I mean, it's movement based. And
yeah,
where are people moving around? When they're doing the roaming, when
yeah,
they're trying to do the flanks. And I think that that's where you're going to see a lot of that use. But then Ubisoft did say that the second real useful aspect of this is that when you take one of the hold objective kind of things, whether that's, it doesn't really apply for hostage because you're taking the hostage out, but for the secure area or for the bomb defusal, when you've got that down and they try to come back and retake the site,
hmm
now they've got to move to you. Now movement is again becoming important with the objective because you flipped it back on them. And so he comes really into his own in that position because, now you're getting that intel as they come to you.
yeah, and exactly right. And it kind of makes you like, I don't play much bomb, but like I feel that this might get me back into it because I have my I hate when I played bomb was, again, like I prefer um, secure area, but I will play bomb once in a while. But my biggest thing is my biggest fault of that is when the bomb is planted, you never know where they're coming from, and sometimes the flank, sometimes this will make it a lot easier, and I feel a lot more people might start going back to bomb because now they feel comfortable. Like, okay, like I have a little bit more. I have almost a one up on whoever else is in this room, and if once the bomb's planted, I can drop it. I know where they're coming from. So, and moving on to with Lion, now that we know like where he will be effective and how he will be effective, let's move on to his weapons, his loadout. It's very similar to Finka with he has the GIGN loadout, but now he has a V308, a vector with 308 caliber rounds in it.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting gun in and of itself because it doesn't actually exist. I do hear some people say that you can get like conversion kits to put any kind of caliber on any kind of weapon, but I mean, you'd have to really be like changing to reinforced internals on it too. It's just not built to take the pressure of a rifle-based cartridge. So
Exactly.
the Vector comes in like the 9 mil and the 45 ACP. They're pistol caliber rounds. So, but I know that Ubisoft said what they're trying to do with this is when you see Vector, don't think Mira. With Mira, it's got that crazy rate of fire where it just pumps out all that lead super fast.
The
And
AC
in
Warthog of the guns of Rainbow.
right. So in this case, they were trying to make it more of almost an LMG, at least in the way it performs, in that it's going to have a slower rate of fire than Mira's, and they didn't mention anything about the damage, but if they're trying to pattern it on an LMG, the LMGs in the game actually have kind of crappy damage. So, maybe it's just going to be sort of countered that way, but they said it's definitely a slower rate of fire, and that's something that, he's probably going to have, so don't think Mira's necessarily.
Then why would they pick the Vector then? Like, moving on to that, like, why the Vector body? Like, was it just something? Hey, we think it's cool to put a 308 caliber round into a Vector, or was there like,
I have no idea.
maybe licensing issues? Maybe they were just like, hey, let's just do something cool that's never been done before.
Right.
Let's give him this cool gun, and like I think it's pretty cool. I was hoping for a similarity to Vector of Mira, but as you mentioned and as Ubisoft said, they don't want you to think, oh, this is Mira's Vector. I was hoping it was more of a smaller round still, but a 308 I guess is still pretty big. But yeah, moving on to that, he still has. He has what was the other two? He has the pistols. He has the P226, and then he has the revolver, and then he has the CQB shotgun, and what's the others? I can never remember that one.
Twitch is 417, so that's a DMR.
Yeah, okay, that's what it is. I was hoping for the F2. That would have been nice.
Well, but you know what would happen if you gave him the F2 as one of his three primaries? Nobody would ever take the other ones.
That's true. Like if you really think it, like look at Fuse, everybody takes the AK. Look at Capital, everybody takes the Para. So
Yeah,
I
I,
get
I shouldn't say that. I mean, I'm sure that, when people play Twitch, there are those that do love to use, her DMR or her shotgun in some situations.
DMR. Your DMR
I,
is so powerful. That thing still, it has like 10 shots, but damn, when you hit somebody, they go down. Like that thing's a beast. So I don't use it often, but I've used it a few times, and it still surprises me about how damn good that thing is.
yeah, I don't use it often. I think it's a two-hit to kill weapon, though. I think.
Yeah, I think all the DMRs are two hit to kill. Dokupi's is the only one that I think can be like one hit and you're down, depending on the thing. I know hers is like a special DMR compared to the other ones because that's all she has is DMR or a meme cannon. So, but yeah, like speaking of Lion, I think we talked about how he will affect the meta, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you on with these two? They're both 2 armor, 2 speed operators. Does
Which is like, what? When you see them
Yeah,
standing next to each other, he's like a giant bear and she's like a little kitten. And it's like, okay, they move at the same speed.
I made a joke when the first trailer dropped when Finka and Lion are they're getting prepped and they're going out and the lady the voice is saying like all the poisons and all that stuff and the Chimera virus and I was like I made a joke on one of the comments is like Lion be like, let me just wrap this mattress around my chest, duct tape it on, and then Finka is this tiny petite thing and like wrapped in a bath shower curtain, and they're both the same armor rating. I feel that Lion should have been a 3 armor, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In my
Yeah, I mean, just based on his bulk alone,
Mhm.
and they can do whatever they want. I mean, okay. I'm just glad that neither one of them are a 3 speed. That's all I'm glad about.
Yeah, I'm glad. I kind of hope for the next maybe 1 or 2 seasons the operators we get are 2 speed or 1 speed because we
Yeah.
don't have enough big attacking operators. We only have, if you really think about it, we have Montaigne or Montagne, however you want to say it, Fuse, and Blitz. They're the only 3 that are the big bulky characters on attack. We don't have any other ones that are in 3 armor. Or am I missing one?
None that I can think of.
None? Well, yeah. Oh, actually, well, that's a good segue onto our next one though. Like Blitz, Blitz being one of the operators with 3 armor, but there's actually I don't know. Did you hear about this possible? I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's going to be happening or when it's going to be happening, but looks like we might be losing one of those characters in the 3 armor brackets. Blitz might be getting a buff that he would be a 2 armor 2 speed. Um, what do you think on that?
That's an idea that's been kicked around for a long time. I mean, initially, that was also something I was talked about with Capcan, making him faster so he could get his traps into position more quickly. And it wound up happening.
It,
And I think Capcan's better for it. I think he's better suited toward that speed. Whether you agree what they did with his traps was a good thing or not is a different story. But at least with his speed, getting into position is definitely better for him. So doing that with Blitz, oh, man, what is my opinion on that? I don't know if he needs it. I really don't. He now that he's been given that sprint ability, where he can kind of get behind his shield and charge forward with it, I think that solves some of his problems of being able to move faster. And so now making him a 2 armor, I don't know. I can see why there's appeal to it toward players that want to have a more mobile shield operator. Like I can see why there's appeal in having that mobility, but I don't know if I am on the side that thinks that that's the best call to make or not. I don't know.
yeah, like I seen it and I actually watched a video of it and it was so weird. Like it just seemed like honestly it looked like somebody was running down the hallway as Blitz and then they recorded it and then they just put it on fast forward like times 2. And like that's because the sound was faster. The sound it was just like again it literally sounded like someone put it on fast forward, and it was I saw it and I was my jaw like almost hit the floor because it's like now you think about it, you got this shield that's running at you, and if you do one of 2 things, you can either try and fight him but you're going to get blinded, or you can turn around and then he can stop running and ADS and shoot you in the back of the head. So it's almost like he's an unbeatable. He's not unbeatable because there's definitely people out there who can beat him. But like, you know what I mean? For us players who are just like playing casual, all of a sudden this like OP Blitzmain walks in and just runs you down. It's I don't feel it was a necessary buff, but I'm kind of he was in a Blitz was in a really weird spot for a long time. Blitz was in a spot where everyone was trying to figure out how to buff him. Everybody was like, "Oh, let's do this and let's do this," and they finally did something pretty decent. They made his ADS a little bit quicker from the shield, and then they added this shield running, which I found is good. And everyone's like, "Well, he's still not that good because he's 3 speed or he's 1 speed. Like you can hear him from a mile away." And then he runs at you, and you can just like back. You can back up faster than he can run at you. So this may fix that problem. It might. I hope it doesn't. I say this. Hopefully, it doesn't break the game. I don't think it will. They know what they're doing.
Well, so I don't know if you remember this or not, but back when the game first launched, there was a more mobile shield operator in the game, the FBI recruit, because they could take a shield and
Yeah.
they had the faster movement speed. They weren't tied down to that 1 speed limitation.
No, weren't
So
they?
you could,
Weren't they
hmm,
three? Weren't they 3 speeds?
they were fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were fast. But the drawback to it was built into the fact that it was recruit. You couldn't put a laser sight on that pistol. So that's something that you could do with some of the other operators. You could throw attachments on them. But with that one, okay, well, if you want to move faster, you can move faster, but you can't put a laser sight on it. So unless you're ADSing, you're going to be at a more significant disadvantage. And Blitz is not going to have that built-in sort of decision to make. You kind of get both benefits at once. I don't remember if that operator, that FBI recruit, was a 3 speed or a 2 speed.
I do remember the fast. I do remember the speed though. I remember. I think when I first came in, there was people just like, yeah, like the first games I would be playing against would be people just rushing his shields, and I was like, how are these guys so fast? And then they just,
Yeah.
I think universally, all recruit shields are the 3 armor now, correct? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't use recruit
They
enough.
they changed the FBI recruits so that they could no longer take advantage of that particular little loophole.
Yeah.
But like I said, it came with its own drawback. If you want the advantage, you have to have the drawback of having no laser sight option. And so, there's a choice to make there. But now, if that is going to pan out to be with Blitz, you're not going to have that choice anymore. You kind of get the advantage of both aspects of it. And again, I'm just not sure if having, these speedy shield operators are necessarily, I don't know where we want to go. I mean, I guess it's not as speedy as like a 3 speed, but still.
Yeah, exactly, right. And like, this buff, it just threw me off guard because I wasn't really expecting it. I didn't read anything on the Reddit. People, like, usually you can see like a massive group of people
It's
complaining.
been requested for a long time.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
people have been asking for it, but
I don't think it was necessary. I don't think it's necessary. But like again, I used to be a pretty decent Blitz main. Like I used to love playing him. Then I kind of just grew out of it, and then that's kind of when my buck phase happened.
yeah.
And I've never really stopped after that. But like maybe this, I don't know. I don't know how to feel
Well,
about this. I feel like it's really really strong, but at the same time, I don't know. I'd have to play against it to really understand of how good it might be or how bad it might be.
yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, I always want to give something a chance to see how it plays out before I criticize it too heavily. But I feel like the problem with Blitz was, I mean, and you're right, they did do some really good steps to kind of counteract some of the issues that he had, and they brought him to a decent place.
Mhm.
But I think that when it comes to him, the only thing that I felt that maybe he could have used more of was a slight redesign in the shape of his shield, just so that it protected him just a little bit more. Like when it comes up near the shoulders and then it kind of notches in and
Yeah,
gets a little
yeah,
narrower. If they just made that not notched in and just had a little bit, so it was just flat, completely straight on the sides. I
yeah,
think that alone could have just put him in just exactly where he needed to be, to give him that little bit of extra coverage on, the rotation to the side and the shoulders. Um, this to me feels like how they did Ella, right? We're gonna nerf Ella by reducing the amount of mines she has without changing the clip count or the magazine count that she has.
they
We'll
took
still leave her at a 50 round mag.
they
Now
took
it took them a whole nother season to figure out, oh, or another, set of updates anyway to figure out, oh, yeah, no, let's bring that back down to 40. But it's kind of
Yeah,
like you fixed the wrong problem.
yeah. Like I don't. I guess they. I don't know. Do they? I don't. I feel like they dance around certain issues because there's probably like a part of their dev team that's like, no, no, that's not broken. That's the way we wanted it. And then there's another team that's like, no, no, this is really broken. You need to fix this. And like, I was when they, I always wanted the Scorpion Evo in the game, but like I never knew it came with a 50 round mag. I don't think it can, or that with at least the size in the game, it doesn't reflect a 50 round mag.
Well,
And
if you look at the character model, it is a double stack mag. If you rotate the model of the gun around, you can see where
okay,
it broadens out to a double stack. So that's legit. But, again, like I was saying, this seems like Ubisoft looking at the wrong problem to
yeah,
fix. Blitz's problem wasn't that he wasn't fast enough, especially when they gave him that sprint charge. When they gave him that sprint charge, that kind of fixed the problem of not being able to close the distance, and he can still effectively flash from that sprint charge.
yeah.
But his problem was that he could get hit on the sides and taken out because that gap in the shield fixed that problem.
Like even if the shield was one shape and they had a notch, like a little notch where the gun was, like is where he holds it and he has the gun right there. Like maybe something like that. Like I totally agree that like his shield is way too small, and then Monty's they reinforced it. They built another like shield in a shield, and it was like okay, that's perfect for him. But then Blitz didn't receive something similar. Not saying he needed like the flaps or anything, but like
Yeah, he didn't need the extending bits, but just that shape.
just the
Yeah.
reshape of it, so it maybe gave him a little bit more protection on the side, so when he can walk up, maybe it was like a little bit lower, so his feet are a little harder when he's crouched. Because as soon as you crouch, people just shoot at your feet or your shoulder. So like, for I totally agree. They should just like fix the shape, but at least they're making steps towards it. Like maybe that rather than reshaping it, they're like, well, why not? Because if the shield's a certain way, you're going to shoot in the shoulder. Well, why not just make him quicker? Like give the Ash effect. The quicker he is, the harder he is to hit in that section, I guess. But yeah, like I feel it threw me off guard. I don't think it's unnecessary, but like to see the speed that they gave him, it's gonna be a game changer for sure, especially in this meta. Although now with the Legion traps and this and that, like it might not do anything. Maybe his pick rate won't go up after, he hits like 30 cap cans and 28 goo lines. So, like you can't really predict what's going to happen, but like I feel this is a good step to get that pick rate up. I think it's going to not be as he's not going to be picked as much over time. Like at the beginning when it first comes out, people are just going to flock to him and say, "Oh yeah, I can run faster with Blitz," so everyone's going to pick Blitz, and then it's just going to slowly window down to the people who can like properly use them with that speed. So that thing is going to be a time will tell thing. But moving on to that one, I was going to say they showed a lot of stuff today at the Invitational. Maps being one of them, and I know you made a video today on that. And I got a crazy like, look at the new map message, and I totally missed it because I was making lunch, and I had kids and stuff. So I was kind of it really threw me back when I actually saw it, the new Hereford base. What do you think of that? Like the brand new, I wasn't expecting that big of a revamp.
I was not expecting that much of a change either, but I was also not expecting that map. I thought that the season 3 map rework of an existing map was going to be Yacht or Favela being reintroduced.
I would have Yacht.
Yeah, yeah. But when I saw that, I was not expecting it at all. But dang, I like that. That's cool.
The thing is too, like so many people are used to Hereford base. Like I'm used to Hereford base. I know where to go to like the safe zone to enter and things like that. This is just it's a 180. Like you got to completely relearn this map.
Yeah, I think that there's a few different reasons why they might have done it, but one of them might just be that people are so familiar with it. Like if you're on this site, this is the approach. If you're on this site, this is the approach. If you're on top floor, this is what you do. And one thing I've got to give props to Ubisoft for, no matter how much people are like, oh, Operation Health, oh, get new servers, whatever they criticize them for.
So petty.
They are always trying to find ways to keep the game fresh,
Well,
and that's what keeps people coming back.
well, yeah, exactly. So think about it in today's day and age. When you buy a game, for example, Call of Duty, new Call of Duty comes out every year. How many game developers do you really see that carry one particular title, the same game you bought 3 years ago, and they just throw stuff onto it? Like they did it with the Division. Granted, the Division is I still don't like it, but a lot of people went back to it. They refocused what they're doing, and like Siege is the same way. There's not many games you see that people they support it so much, and now that like if you really think about it, in another year, it's not going to be the same game we bought 4 years ago. It's going
No,
to be
definitely not.
completely different. And the maps that were vanilla are now, vanilla with sprinkles. It's something different. And it's like the Hereford base they showed. I cannot wait to see the internal layout. I hope there's certain sections that are the same, but at the same time, I'm really excited to see how it will really affect the meta. And even if it makes it, maybe Hereford base might make it into the ranked playlist because of how good it might be.
Now, one thing that I was seeing though when I was taking a look at that is that there's still hints of, like you can like the exterior stairwell. It's still there. It still comes up from the ground level, hits that mid level, goes back up to the third level again.
Yeah.
It's just different. You've still got underneath that stairwell, there's like a brickwork arch that leads down to that same side of basement entrance area. It's there, but it's different. So I mean, it's like you still have the familiarity that front entrance with the wall of windows and the overhang guarding the main front double door. That's still there. You have the elements. It's just a fresh take.
Yeah, it's something to renew it and something to get people to be like, oh, like that's the one map I didn't like. That's the one map I wish that instead of favela they took out. And now it gets people like, oh, let's go back to this and learn it again. And I think that's the fun part about games like Siege is learning it again or learning. Like when you first picked up Siege and you put it in, oh, like this is really cool. I have to learn, and oh, I can lean, and oh, look at this. So it adds a fresh new take to the game, and I feel this is like a great direction that they're going. Like I cannot just wait to see what's next. What do you feel is next for them? What map do you think, in your opinion, minus let's say Yacht and Favela, because we know those two are kind of in a different zone right now. They're in their own section. What map do you want to see next in this like total revamp?
Well, when we're talking about total revamp, because it's important to differentiate. They said that there's map updates and then map buffs, and those are two separate categories. So in the total, like just reworking it top to bottom, changing it, making it a completely alternate version, they did specifically call out House a few times during the invitational stream as sort of an example of some flawed design and things that didn't work, or things that maybe worked in the beginning, but the meta has changed so much that it no longer works. I put some strong money that maybe House might be the next one that they would do that with.
Now, what would you do to House to like I have some ideas that I would love to see done to House to make it different, but like I want to hear what your take on what should be done about House.
Yeah, I think, and so I mean, I'm not like a pro map designer or anything like that, but I think that first of all, like you need some complete reworks on the way that Kid's bedroom flows. That just does not work at all. You also need to deal with the way the living room is set up. It is not a viable objective site right now. I'm very well. I mean, yeah, sure. There's ways to hold it. Yeah, I know. But it's a terrible site. There's nothing to really reinforce there. There's hardly anything to defend there. The best way to defend that site is from off the site. Maybe have one anchor there just in case. But I mean, otherwise, you defend that site by roaming. So that's one that's really got to be reworked a lot. Changing the location of a lot of people tend to kind of like look at it almost as like you see it but you ignore it. The shuttered windows. There's windows in that house that are shuttered and sealed up and that aren't used. And maybe changing some of those for some of the existing windows and swapping those around, opening up the shuttered ones and closing down some of the open ones right now might do a lot of big changes. Another one I hate is the living room, outside of the living room, the foyer, that huge open area. It's not really used for anything other than a roundabout way to get from living room to the backside of kitchen.
Yes.
You know, you can run up the stairs real quick or whatever, but otherwise it's sort of like a shooting gallery to anything that's down below there.
Mhm.
So I'd like to maybe see that top section of the floor closed off and make that a proper, like a whole other room on the second
Yeah.
floor.
See what I was. Yeah, I see. Basically, almost what I was thinking is change somewhat of the layout because why not make it rather than having this garage that's below, fix the layout so the house is like there's a basement, keep basement, but then have garage not in basement, have garage off to the side, and then you can have maybe like a room over that. So in the eternal structure would obviously the house would completely change almost, but like have garage off to the side. Basement is now it's a full thing. It's not subsectioned off. It's a full basement. There's no garage door. There's no nothing. Garage is its own entity. But then you know when you're attacking from APCs, extend the house out. So you know where that edge of that shack is that usually people shoot in either master bedroom or kids bedroom.
Hmm.
Extend it out. So like have like a pool or something. Like it's like something. Just make house bigger. That's the thing. I feel like it needs to be almost bigger so there's more rotation. Because that's the problem with house. There's no rotation that you can go because you can walk.
I think having more rotation is good, but for me, part of the appeal of House is that it is a little bit smaller. I like some of those smaller maps, like Plain, like House, like Hereford Base, that aren't necessarily as big as your theme parks and your clubhouses and whatever. Um, but I agree, having more rotation options is something that map needs. But I
Yeah,
would say maybe rather than building bigger, maybe a
like
little bit bigger is
like
okay,
build
but don't
outwards
get
sort of
crazy
thing.
with it.
Yeah, no, no,
But maybe increase the density within it.
yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Like rework some rooms, but like when I say bigger, I don't mean like overall this gigantic. Don't turn it into chalet. What I'm saying is like just change the layout. Like make it wider in the sense of like rather than garage downstairs, put it off to the side. Have a little bit of a room back. Instead of that patio, you have like almost an extension of the room that way. The overall size would be maybe a little bit bigger, but I'm not saying a drastic, huge, uh, big house like chalet. But I
Yeah.
totally agree. Yeah, like make it more dense, make it more not mazy, but like just make it so rotation is viable, so you can go from one end of the house to the other, and you're not going to get there. There is a way to do that because, like you said, there's that big foyer which leads either one downstairs or the other downstairs. Both staircases you can see from the front door basically if you angle it right. So
Yeah.
there's no way you can get if you want to do like a sneaky flank or a rotation or anything like that to do anything. And yeah, I just feel like I hope House is the next one. To be honest, House is definitely in need of it. I kind of want Plane to be one in there too, but I don't know how they would reload Plane. Maybe if they added like if the plane was closer to the actual terminal, and then you can rotate between plane and terminal, maybe something like that. But
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
So let me ask you something.
yeah.
I've seen this come up a few times, especially within my audience. That they'd asked this question at the end of the video that was done with the new map information. And I think it's a really interesting question, and I love it. But what do you think about this? The redesign that's coming for Hereford, it does really change things up. But what if you didn't get rid of the original Hereford and you could get either?
Ooh, that would be. So, like, are you saying that in a sense of PvP? Like, he's like, oh, this is old Hereford base and this is new Hereford base. Like, what you're
Yeah,
saying?
like okay, you do a redesign, but
Yeah,
don't throw out the old one. Keep them
yeah.
both in there, and then you kind of
I'm,
get a different
I'm
map
not.
for free.
I'm not opposed to that. Actually, that's a pretty good idea. Like, it's almost like an elite skin for a map. Like,
Yeah,
um,
definitely. That's a
like
good way of putting it. I like that.
yeah, it's an elite skin for a map. But like, yeah, I kind of like that. But like, depending on which one's more viable, like maybe put like you can have both in casual rotation, and then like if obviously if the new one is more viable for ranked, put it in ranked rotation, but don't put the
Oh
other.
yeah, Ubisoft
But
can
like,
control all that stuff. They can even affect the frequency with which it comes up. They can
yeah,
weight one more than the other one so that
I would.
like when Old Hereford pops up, maybe it's like a much rarer chance, but it can still happen, or whatever. They can
Yeah,
do
like,
whatever they want.
that's a good idea. Like having like this like, oh, it's Hereford base, and you can catch somebody completely off guard. It's like, oh, it's Hereford base, and then they prepare for one strat, and then it's old Hereford base, and like,
Oh, it's
oh,
classic Hereford.
oh
Yeah.
crap, this is not the one we needed. These are not the drones you're looking for. But like it's yeah, I think that's a great idea. Why not do that?
Yeah.
But then you run into that thing where it's that we were talking about. There's too many maps in it, and again, there's always new people. There's like hundreds of thousands of people joining every day. So it's like you got this new guy who comes in, doesn't know much about Siege. And it's like, oh, it's Hereford base, and then he plays it, and he's like, ah, it was an okay map. And then he sees another one, oh, Hereford base again, and it's completely different. And he's like, oh, what I have to learn two of the same map. That's really, like, you know what I mean? It could throw somebody off for a loop, but again, it is actually a really good idea.
It's a fair point. You just made a pretty fair point. I mean, I personally don't like it because I feel like that wouldn't be a problem for me. But you're right. The new guy who's just picking up the game that has to learn two maps. Okay, I'll concede it. But we don't know how different the internal layout is. If
Yeah, exactly.
it's fairly similar, then it may not even be that much of a problem. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly, right. And then like, um, yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. With the whole like maybe add it in, it's yeah, have both in, and then you keep it in casual rotation. And if you play it and the community's like, we don't, it's a good idea, but maybe we should just get rid of the old one. Then you can kind of like, okay, let's take it out. But I would keep both of them in right now as it is. But
Yeah.
but speaking of, let's move on to the next one because that was map updates. Map buffs. What they did to Clubhouse, I would literally thought of when they said, oh, we're going to be updating some maps. The first thing I thought of was Clubhouse, and was like, well, why not connect, bedroom and cash room?
Well, what they're doing with map buffs
Yeah.
is what I thought map updates were going to be.
Oh.
Like I just thought they were going to be like, like, oh, we changed 4 walls, 3 doors, and a window. But it's the same map. Like I didn't expect the entire reskin that Hereford got. So then we're also getting this buff concept in addition to it, and that's like, and they're going to try to do that for a target of 1 every season.
So by every
bring that on.
By every season, do they mean like every 3 months, or do they mean like the entire year? I don't think they mean
No,
I don't
like
know why I got so confused with that, but like I was like, that seems really short to be like, oh, we're just going to be dropping these things. Like I thought like a year would be like, oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Well, that's for the redesign. So like a Hereford base elite skin, as you say, would be a once a year thing. But then the other 3 seasons that are within the year, they're going to try to do this change of like, oh, we added a wall, or we took away a wall, or we added a stairwell, or added 2 doors and a window, or whatever it might be. So the map itself isn't changing, but a layout of a specific room or 2 might. And they are going to try to do that once every season, although it sounds like not in Chimera.
No, okay, yeah. Now, from the sounds of it, it seems like they played The Sims, and they're like, we're just gonna add a room here. But yeah, like what they did to Clubhouse, that top section is gonna make that top, like those 2 bomb sites, or however they reorganized it. I don't know how they redid the top bomb sites. That's gonna make it so much nicer, because that was the biggest problem with that is, playing with you know exactly what it is when you get stuck with cash room and casual, and you're like, well, there's no way we're winning this because they can blow open every wall, and we have nowhere to go. We have a stairwell. So I feel like this is the right direction to go as well.
Absolutely.
Like what they did with Bar, I think that was okay. Like I never really had an issue with Bar where it was.
Yeah, I'm a little lukewarm on that one. Again, I'll have to play it and see. I mean, they closed off the path to Strip Club, so clearly Strip Club comes now through Pool Room somehow.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested in how that new basement approach works.
Yeah.
And did they close off the under garage tunnel, or did they come out parallel to each other in the same room?
I think
like
they come
I'm
out parallel
wondering.
to each other. I think they would, because if they got rid of that main tunnel, that's a completely different approach to what it used to like it's not more of a map buff. Then you're completely changing almost the way you would enter like that one section of basement and blue hallway. I would think it would be attached. It makes the most sense if it's attached, because
I agree, but we don't know until we see it.
Exactly, right. But I did that threw me off because I was when they showed the one where it's like, oh, we attached these two rooms up top. It's, oh, cool. And then we changed bar, and I was like, oh, my eyebrow went up a little bit. And then it's like, oh, and then now there's a new way to get in the basement. I was like, whoa, that just
But
what?
then did you notice too on the upstairs where they connected the roofs, the window on the right, which would be closest to where the gap used to be between the rooms, is
Yep,
sealed up now.
it is. Yes.
And
Um,
then it looked like the garage like long window was open, and it's like, what is that?
now could that be a spectator thing
Yeah, I don't
when
know.
they
It
went
doesn't
through?
make sense to me to leave it entirely open.
Because I know when you watch the pro leagues, sometimes I don't know if they fix it or not. Like when you watch the pro leagues and there's a mirror window open and they have it from the other side, sometimes it looks like it's open. So like I don't know if that's just a spectator thing when they're panning, it's open, or maybe now it's clear glass but you can't shoot through it.
Mm,
Maybe it's like one of those things where like you'll have the bullet marks, but the bullets won't be actually going in. Like just maybe you can see through better, you can get better intel. Okay, they're in garage. There's a guy here, but I don't. I again, we'll
I
have to
hope
wait.
that window isn't open
I hope
because
so
that would make
too.
a lot of problems if you're still keeping that as an objective site and then basically allowing the attackers to see right in and do whatever they want.
Yeah,
I
like
hope that's not the case, but
garage
it's
isn't
what they
the
showed.
garage isn't the easiest to hold. It's not the hardest to hold, but like if you're facing a really competent team, like garage is probably on the lower end of the spectrum of something to pick. Um, like you got that top railing, and that's basically where everybody kind of stays. But if you blow open, cash room wall, there's really nowhere you can go. And then if you add a window that people can shoot through, what's the point of picking garage? Because you can get shot from the top, the wall, the downstairs, and then the two garage doors that are boarded up.
Right.
It's
I'm hoping that was like a glitch in a texture,
I
like you were
hope so.
saying.
I hope so. I really do. But I'm excited to try that because actually I really like Clubhouse. Clubhouse is again another vanilla map that needed some love. Again, I know Pro League was saying that there's only two viable bomb sites. The other two nobody really ever picks because you can't defend them properly. Roughly, I know there's probably the odd team that probably could do it, but yeah, like I'm really impressed of what they are doing with these maps. I was really worried that like they were going to be um, kind of like, oh, like you said, well, we put a wall here and this one's not, but the map overall is the same, and it's like, well, this is more fresh approach to it. I found.
Yeah.
Now, the last thing we're going to be talking about today, the main event, is Mission Outbreak. We saw Buck going on an absolute tangent, stabbing things, going crazy. DMR, I don't know why they picked the DMR. Why wouldn't you pick the Z8? Just saying. Um, but the overall feel of Mission Outbreak, I was not expecting what we saw.
What I saw was everything I hoped it would be, but I didn't want to. I wasn't sure if they could actually do that, and they nailed it. Like, I mean, you put that up against like Call of Duty zombies, and it's like, oh no, I'm sorry, this is just way cooler. The claustrophobic feel that it has, the
Yeah,
moments of panic, the switching off of like attacking and defending kind of types of moments, and they talked about that too, right? They had like they called them events where they would like
mm,
escalate up the tension and then
yeah.
de-escalate it back down and then build up to this like major fight or this big swarm of hordes, whatever it was. It's just really really interesting to see.
It's so cool to see. Um, the gameplay that they showed. What's something that not a lot of us probably grasped about that was because we were watching it live. We were watching it with like people talking over it. The game volume was really down, and you got people in the background cheering and applauding and yelling. Think of it this way: the situation we saw it was like really kind of like, oh, that looks really tense. Imagine that with your headphones on. You have these screaming, you have the fire, you got all this stuff that's really dark. It's like they said, it's Left for Dead style. Like you're gonna jump out of your seat probably a few times here and there, and it's just gonna be super intense. Like it's something I was really looking for. I was excited for, but now I'm at a completely different level of excitement for this. It's a total rejuvenation of Siege and brings excuse me, bringing something new into it that they can maybe develop in the future. Um, with Mission Outbreak, they have three different maps, and we're gonna expand on this. They have three different maps. Each map is a different objective. Correct?
Well, it's like an overall objective,
Yeah.
but it's an evolving objective, right? So the one that they showed was hospital, which was kind of this concept of the hostage rescue, but it is not your terrorist hunt hostage rescue where you just get the thing, grab it, and run outside the building. This is like you fight your way to the hostage, you revive the hostage, you then hold off attacking hordes while you're, maintaining that hostage, and then you go, and they didn't really show what happened next. But it's just this thing of like, yeah, your objective might be in one thing. Like they didn't show it, but they talked about how in the which map was it? The resort map, that there was going to be a thing with like setting up a bomb and doing something there. But that's just like that's one objective within the scope of the map.
Yeah, and they showed a thing too of how big these maps are, and like how much there's like 100 and there could in any possibility of 150 enemies. Was it 150? 150 enemies.
He gave that as an
One
example. Yeah.
example. Yeah, I'm not saying that's in everyone, but like 150 enemies on this gigantic map where there's multiple. It's just there's so much stuff like this. This is an obscene amount of things to actually grasp that are things to do. Being, three operators, attack and defense, which I'm loving that aspect of it.
Oh, so much. It's finally time to start allowing the CTUs to play together that way.
Yeah, and they even said it allows characters to develop, and that they're adding more to the lore of the game. I know in a lot of your videos you're saying it's sort of Siege 90210, but
Well, some of the
some
like
of
the
it,
dysfunction,
yeah.
is, but I do like the interpersonal relationships. I just don't want like every character to have drama, like with other characters,
Echo's banging every girl that's in the freaking fleet that's downloadable or DLC content because apparently
Right.
relations with every single person that you read up on. You're like, why is this a thing? Like, I get what they're adding. They're trying to add depth to these characters, so they're not like these pawns that we just throw into the game and we all just kind of shoot each other at, which is nice. I'd like to build a relationship with these characters. And that being said, that you can see that in the cinematics of it when they debut Doc's face and Thermite's face without his welder goggles and like the character development, the story of Mission Outbreak, I feel is super well directed.
It was very well directed, and I just want to say, like, although we saw a face reveal here for Thermite and Ash without her sunglasses covering up her face anyway, and Doc finally, I hope that they don't feel the need to make every single operator's face reveal that might come down the road necessarily look like so cosmopolitan or GQ. These are like, they're always excessively beautiful, perfect people that could be
I
models.
was gonna say Doc reminds me of like one of those like hospitals.
Yeah, he could be at like General Hospital or something for
like
sure.
General Hospital. He has a French accent, and it's like, I'm sorry, but your husband is going to die, and it's like, ah, and it's, but like, I guess they kind of, you've never seen this face, so they were kind of like, let's give him this.
Yeah, I know, but like Thermite, like he had those big bug-eyed goggles on, and his hands were all bandaged up because they're scarred from chemical burns. And then he takes off his face, his mask, and you see him, and he's like, "Oh, why aren't you, like a nightly news anchor or a model or something? Even though you're supposed to have these weird goggles and these messed up burned hands." And
yeah, there's like scruffy facial hair that was never there before, and
yeah,
the short grayish kind of. He looked like somebody's stepdad. That's what he looked like, and it was just like, I get where they're going with it. They want to make, because in cinematics, I don't think you really want ugly characters. That's my opinion.
Well, I don't. I'm not saying that they necessarily need to uglify people, but I'm just regular people are nice.
I hope that they kind of keep like some mystery, like maybe Jaeger or something like that. Let's not see Jaeger's face. Let's keep Jaeger in his own bubble. And I totally agree. Like maybe if whatever they decide to do with in the future, yeah, like I kind of want them to kind of keep some secrets with certain characters, a little bit of mysteriousness to it. But
I don't know. I wouldn't mind a pack of all face reveal headgear DLC kind of things. That'd be cool. I'd go for that.
They're slowly going there. I feel like with Twitch, and Twitch got a full face reveal with her elite skin.
Yeah.
We see Doc's face, so I can imagine there's going to be maybe a face reveal one for him as well. And they're slowly getting there, but I do like Frost. She got her like grandma skin or whatever it is, the beach day one. It's cool, but at the same time, I don't. It's not my style. But like more focused on that, like more going in that direction. I don't mind them doing that. It's just I feel like I don't. I don't think they should do it with every character. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
but it's still nice to see the new cinematics and all the story that's really going into this
Yeah,
mode. It really lends to the atmosphere of what they're doing, and I really like too the new flashlight attachment that they have for this mode.
yeah,
It just like how they said like not only does it add to the drama of what's going on, it makes things feel claustrophobic and closed in and creates that tension, right? But it
yeah,
also serves an actual gameplay mechanic of like, hey, areas can be too dark to clearly see what's going on, so you can turn on the light to give yourself that advantage. But doing so, the AI can react to that. If they see those lights, they will respond. So it's like it's this trade-off of like, visibility, stealth. What do I want to go with here?
yeah, exactly. And they go aggro, and they showed examples of that, like them sneaking up on them, and like they're just like these little walkers per se, and you just sneak up and you can get them, or you can just shine the light on them, get them all aggro, and it's. I like how I was really worried about it. They said it was going to be tactical, but it wouldn't be as tactical. But from the looks of it, it will. There is a tactical way to do it.
Well, I think we all had visions of Terrorist Hunt 2.0 dancing in our heads of like, oh no.
Yeah, yeah, like like four terrorists running around the corner and staring at you intently, and it's like that's not that what the AI doesn't know what to do. But it seems like they programmed it well. The atmosphere is right. It makes me really excited to actually get my hands on this, and I'm kind of sad that I don't have a PC that can do the technical test server because I really want to try it and get into it. But I think I'll just kind of watch content on it until it comes out.
Well, here's the thing. We would have never had this mode if Ubisoft didn't make the genius call to recognize that if they took their development team and put resources into this, that they wouldn't be able to keep pushing the PvP side that they're able to do and keep that innovation going. And they said, okay, let's farm this out to Ubisoft Paris. We are still going to develop PvP, make that everything that we've been making it, take no resources at all away from the development of what we're doing, and have this whole other team in Ubisoft Paris put this together and allow both products, the PvP and the Outbreak mode, to be these just like fantastic standalone sides of the game without taking anything out of it to make it happen.
Yeah, and like that's a great. Like, it's perfect. There's no other way to describe it. It's the best. It's the best business plan to do for them to keep this game fresh, to keep it going, and to get. They're going to be grabbing a completely different market now. Like Siege is going to grow from people just wanting to play Outbreak, people who like the PVE aspect. They don't like PvP, and you can get that market into your game. And who knows? Maybe they'll play so much PVE, and they're like, oh, let's try let's try PvP. Let's see how it is. And maybe you might get out of 10 people, you might get 3 people who really love the PvP. But then
Well, and isn't that kind of what happened with Call of Duty too?
yeah,
Because when what was it, Call of Duty 2, I think, first introduced like the Nazi zombies. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember.
no, I don't know. I can't remember how.
Yeah,
It was
it
more
was
of a
forever
modern,
ago.
yeah,
But when it first came out, the Call of Duty base was like, "This is stupid. This isn't Call of Duty. This has nothing." And now
it's a,
people expect it. It's a staple. People are attracted to that mode. I don't personally like the endless wave that has no purpose other than just seeing how long you can last. I prefer having the objective type wave, which is what they're doing here with Outbreak.
yeah,
There's a completion goal. That there's an end game. So you can do that, but that became something that the fan base initially was like, this isn't right for the game. What are you doing? And now it's like a must-have component
and
to it.
there's people out there who just play it. They only buy Call of Duty to play zombies and a campaign. They don't go on online.
And
I
would say that they would also be the campaign players too, not
Yeah,
just the zombies.
no,
But
like you know what I mean. PVE. They're the PVE players. They don't like the PvP, so they play zombies because it's cooperative, and they can play with their friends. They don't have to worry about teammates or anything like that, like that the other teammates, and facing really sweaty people. They can just go in. They can have fun. It's a game they can pick up, play for 25 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever, and that's what they like. And this is what, Siege is finally getting a grasp on there, and they're like, okay, let's go to this market and see how they do this, and let's try and get these guys in, and then they can build and build and build, and who knows, like maybe, I threw out the idea on Reddit. It didn't get too many followers on it or anything like that, but like it didn't get too many upvotes. But like after this outbreak, who knows? Maybe they do like a little bit of a character campaign type thing. So like a 4-week event where you play as Habana and you go through Habana's lineage or Habana's history with certain operators, and you get to like learn about these characters and understand where they came from and what they're like, why they do their ability, and how they interact with other operators in the sense of like more of a story driven mode. And we could see that, we don't know, but I would love for it to go that direction. But it just brings a whole new aspect to the game of this PvE, that we don't have to do PvP, and that's basically what this game has been for the last 3 years.
Right. Now, that brings up another interesting thing that I'm wondering about, though, is this is a 4-week event, but it just blows my mind that they put an entire development team on this mode, made it as big, as in-depth, as polished as it is,
Mm-hmm.
and then it only sticks around for 4 weeks. There's something bigger picture to this that they haven't come out with yet. There's just no way that you put this amount of resources into something for 4 weeks. That's what you do with like the Predator and Ghost Recon Wildlands. That was a 4-week or about a month and a half-ish event.
Roughly.
And it went away because it was one mission with a cool character and some really interesting side things, but it was a mini thing.
No.
It was a mission. This is like a mini campaign with so many like CGI animations and storytelling components and new lore, and just like it's way bigger than that.
Yeah, like I think I don't know, like I haven't been on Ghost Recon, but I think you could still play the Predator mission, if I'm not mistaken. I know somebody probably in the comments will probably be like, hey, no, you can't do that anymore. But like,
I don't know if you can or not, but regardless, that's something you put 4 weeks on. You make it a limited time offer. The amount of it's like making a $50 million movie and saying we're going to have it out for just 3 months, and then you can't buy it on DVD even afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you do that? That doesn't make sense.
Maybe it's a 4-week event where you can get these outbreak pack, or the whatever you get through the actual gameplay. I know outbreak packs you have to buy, which I still feel that they shouldn't have done that. But
that's a whole other topic.
That's a whole different topic. But like maybe it's a 4-week event where you can unlock the outbreak gear through going through the actual maps and actually doing the story. But maybe after that 4-week period, you just go back and you get renown through it. It's not an actual event. You don't get anything special for doing it, but it's there still. I don't think they would just throw this giant playground of stuff and then just after 4 weeks be, oh no, we're going to take this away now. I think it's always going to be there. It's just the event itself will be 4 weeks. So
either that,
mm-hmm.
or it's the kind of thing that maybe they'll take it down for a season, and then it might come back in season 3 with some tweaks and some changes and some new things. Yeah. Almost do it like the McDonald's McRib. Let's be honest, that sandwich sucks. There is nothing great about it, and people are going to kill me for saying that, but there is nothing amazing about that sandwich except for the fact that you can only get it now and again.
Yeah.
So maybe they're trying to do the same approach here of like, we're going to put all this into it. It's going to be really amazing, but if we know if we keep it around all the time, you might get bored with it. But if we bring it back, once every 3 months or once every 6 months, you'd be like, oh, it's back again, and how's it different? Maybe something like that.
There's new and different rewards to it. And be like, like right now, for example, I'm bringing us back to the outbreak packs. You have to buy them, but maybe in 4 weeks they'll bring outbreaks or outbreak pack, and you can get these packs now because by doing the mission, and you can get there's these extra things you can get. So I can see them doing that too. I can see them doing either it's going to be there, but the event's 4 weeks, or I can see them putting it in after 4 weeks. Okay, we'll take it away. We'll make some tweaks. We'll change some things up, and you can win new things. And then the next season, they're like, oh, it's back again, and you can play it for another 4 weeks. And either way, it's you're definitely on something with them having a bigger, broader picture to this, because you don't invest this much time and this much effort into something that's going to be out for a very, very brief time.
I agree.
4 weeks is a very brief time in game.
Mm-hmm.
So going to the this whole new experience, like we're getting actually in pretty late. So just to leave us off here, what are your final thoughts on Operation Chimera and Outbreak? What are your final thoughts? What are things you just want to say about it, or what are things you just want to like get off your chest about it?
I think it's exactly what it needs to be. For the most part, I will hold a slight reservation on the way they're handling Outbreak packs being blind purchases.
Maybe
That's, again, another topic for another time.
another topic for another podcast. That's 100.
But other than that, I think that this season is exactly what I want it to be. We're seeing this completely new way to play the game in this PvE mode, and it's not just Terrorist Hunt 2.0. It is something completely different. And it's completely optional. So all the haters out there that are like zombies and aliens don't belong in Rainbow Six, get it out. Hey, you don't ever have to play it, and it's completely free. You lose nothing by it being there, and it's a great addition.
It is. It's a fantastic addition to the game. I agree. It's a refresher to the game. The game's been out for 3 years. You need something different and new and exciting to get the community psyched up like we are. We're all jazzed about it.
Yeah,
you need something like that. And now you can wait another 2 years and do something very similar, and it's going to get the community excited for the game again. They're on to something totally big and something totally different here that's rejuvenating Rainbow Six Siege.
agreed. And I think with the two new operators that we're getting for Chimera, they're an interesting step in the right direction. They're experimenting, which is something I love about the creative team that's involved with this game. They're willing to break their own rules to try new, fresh ideas. Oh, we've never done 2 attackers in one season before with 0 defenders. Let's try it. Oh, we're revisiting existing CTUs. Here's another Spetsnaz guy. Here's another GIGN guy. They're not going to be part of those, but they come from those organizations, and they're going to intermix in the lore.
Exactly.
Let's do that. Let's try these global operator abilities that when you use them, they affect the entire team at once. We've never tried that with 2 operators before at once. Let's do it and see what happens and how it goes. It's exactly what the game needed.
Ubisoft does not get as they get so much flack. Oh, their servers aren't good, and
there are times where I agree with that.
You know what? That's fine. The game has a massive amount of people going in and out of the game so often. It's gonna happen. The game has flaws. We understand that, but there's just so many people playing it that they all point out the small things that it just seems like it has more problems than it actually does have. But Ubisoft gets so much flack, and if you really think about it, Ubisoft has so much balls for what they do into this game. For like you said, they just we're just gonna break our rules. We're gonna two attacking operators. There you go. And the clear evidence of this was Operation Health. I'll make it very brief, but for them to be like, oh, by the way, guys, we're gonna have to take back a season. We're gonna give you this season where we're just fixing things because you guys want to fix us to fix it, but there's so much we have to do. That takes balls. That takes and the fact that they did actually a pretty good job of it. We got one-step matchmaking. We got alpha packs. We got all these cool things. Granted, yeah, some issues need to get fixed. It's gonna happen, right? You can only do so much. But the fact that they did that, and then now they're like, okay, we're going to do this, and we're constantly developing with the community, and we're definitely we're trying to listen to you guys as best as we can because there's so many people just probably flooding them with say something quippy and then there's the odd people who are like, hey, I think this is a good idea for the game, and then they have to test that, or they have to talk about it, or they maybe don't, or you know what I mean? They just get so much on their plate, and the things that they've done to this game. The game is amazing the way it is, the way it has been evolving, and I don't think they get enough credit for that. I feel that they get a lot of hate thrown their way, but I don't think don't feel that they get enough credit thrown their way. A lot of props per se to say, hey, you guys take a lot of shit, but you guys do some good stuff, and that we really enjoy you doing.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll leave it on that. Thank you for being on the podcast. This is the first podcast. I hope we do many, many more. I believe we probably will be doing many, many more. But you've been a great, great guest. I've enjoyed our talks here. And hopefully, we touched on some stuff that people can relate to. And if anybody has anything they would like to throw into the podcast, if they have any topics they would like us to talk about, please put them down in the comments below, and we'll try to get them as soon as we can. But thank you guys. This has been the Sixth Podcast. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you again, Iceycat, for being on here. I really enjoyed your company.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night, guys, and we'll see you next time.